Close your eyes. Imagine you are lying in a cell made of cold, damp stone. The air is thick with the metallic scent of old blood and the stench of rust. The only sound is a low moan echoing off the walls. This isn't a movie scene. This was the raw, naked reality of Europe's darkest chapter. Welcome to the nightmare known as the Spanish Inquisition. But death wasn't the worst part here. Death was a luxury. The true horror lay in the process. And the primary victims? Women. Dragged into a meat grinder of religious fanaticism. Today, we aren't just listing these devices. We are going to dissect them to understand the sick creativity of humanity when it comes to inflicting pain. Take a deep breath. This is going to get hard to watch. The logic of pain. To understand the machines, we must understand the men. The Inquisitors didn't see themselves as butchers. They believed they were spiritual surgeons. Their logic was terrifying. A woman's soul was stained by the devil, and the only way to scrub it clean was through agony. They believed that when flesh was torn, truth would flow out with the blood. This mindset turned dungeons into laboratories of suffering. The goal wasn't to kill the victim immediately. That would be too easy. The goal was to keep them alive in a state of near death for as long as possible. First on the list is a device that looks simple but caused permanent ruin. The strapedo. The strapedo, picture this. Your hands are tied tightly behind your back with a rough rope running up to a ceiling pulley. The executioner pulls. Slowly, your feet leave the ground. Your entire body weight is now suspended by your shoulder joints, wrenched backward at an impossible angle. You can hear the ligaments grinding, but that was just the warm-up. To add drama, torturers tied heavy weights to the victim's ankles. Then the squassation, a free fall. They drop the victim but jerk the rope tight just before they hit the floor. Snap. Shoulders dislocate instantly. The pain is a blinding explosion in the brain. And the scariest part, it didn't spill a drop of blood, perfectly adhering to the church's rule of clean punishment. But if you think that's bad, wait until you see what they used to silence the screams. The iron gag. In the dungeon, a scream is proof of life, but Inquisitors found the begging of their victims annoying. They wanted silence. Enter the iron gag, or Scold's Bridle, a masterpiece of cruelty aimed at dignity. It was a metal cage locking onto the head, with a spiked plate forced into the victim's mouth to press down the tongue. Imagine a cold, rusted piece of iron jamming into your mouth, making it impossible to swallow. Saliva drools uncontrollably. Every time you try to move your tongue, the spikes dig deeper, shredding soft tissue. It turned a human being into a muted animal, only able to stare wide-eyed at their tormentor. Silence here wasn't golden. It was a scream choked in the throat. The torture chair. We think of a chair as a place to rest. Under the Inquisition, it became the chair of spikes. Visualize a heavy iron armchair, but every inch, seat, back, arms, legs is covered in 500 to 1,500 sharp spikes. The victim, naked, is forced to sit. Straps are tightened, pulling the body against the metal points. As the straps tighten, spikes pierce muscle, fat, and grind against bone. The psychological terror is unmatched. You are fully awake. Any tiny movement, shivering from cold or breathing too heavily, drives hundreds of spikes deeper. You are forced to sit perfectly still, torturing yourself just by existing. Paralyzed by pain, yet mind perfectly clear. The Iron Maiden. Even if you only know history from movies, you know the Iron Maiden, the legendary icon of medieval brutality. It looked like a coffin shaped like a woman, but the interior was a nightmare. The heavy doors were lined with long, sharp spikes. The positioning was calculated with mathematical cruelty. Spikes aimed for the eyes, chest, and shoulders, but deliberately missed the heart and lungs.
Easy now.
Why?
Breathe through it.
To ensure you didn't die too fast. When the door closed, darkness took over. You are trapped in an iron cocoon, impaled but alive, bleeding out in total silence. You cannot move, you cannot collapse. You just stand there, feeling life drain away drop by drop in absolute darkness. The victims. You ask, what did they do? The answer might make your blood boil. Sometimes their only crime was being a woman. In strict patriarchal Spain, being too independent, too smart, or too skilled was a threat. Midwives, herbalists, or wealthy widows living alone were prime targets. If a child got sick and a neighbor had given them soup, that woman was accused of witchcraft. Jealousy and superstition turned ordinary women into witches. Once accused, there were no lawyers, just the dungeon. But before the physical torture, they destroyed you in broad daylight. Public humiliation. Physical pain heals. The destruction of dignity is permanent. The Inquisition weaponized shame. They turned punishment into a public theater where the audience was your own neighbors. Accused women were forced to wear the San Benito, a coarse yellow sack painted with demons. Heads shaved, stripped of femininity, they walked the walk of shame. Crowds, people they once knew, threw stones and spit on them. This isolation broke the spirit long before the rack broke the bones. It stripped them of honor, family, and humanity. But if shame didn't break them, the stretching machine would. The rack welcomed to the rack, the star of the torture chamber. A wooden frame with rollers at both ends. Simple but brutal. The victim lay on their back, wrists and ankles tied to the rollers. The torturers turned the handles. Slowly the body was pulled in opposite directions. Muscles stretched. Then, pop. Crack. Joints, hips, knees, elbows were pulled out of sockets. The sound of snapping cartilage mixed with screaming created a symphony of hell. In extreme cases, the body was stretched inches longer, muscles ripping apart. The pain vibrated in the bone marrow. Most victims confessed to anything just to make the wheel stop turning. Psychological warfare machines weren't always necessary. Sometimes the environment was the weapon. Imagine being thrown into a pitch-black cell, deep underground, damp, crawling with rats. Starved and isolated. Sensory deprivation rots the mind. You lose track of time. Guards whispered lies through the door. Your husband abandoned you. Your children testified against you. Or they let you hear the screams of others being tortured next door. The anticipation of pain was worse than the pain itself. Many women went insane in the dark before a hand was ever laid on them. But if your mind stayed strong, they switched tactics to compression. The scavenger's daughter. The rack stretched you. The scavenger's daughter crushed you. It was an A-shaped iron frame that defied biology. The victim was forced into a crouch, head locked to knees, body compressed until the spine threatened to snap. You are folded in half. The internal pressure was so immense that blood forced its way out of the nose, ears, and even fingertips. It was death by crushing, caused by your own body. The lungs had no room to expand. No screaming, just wheezing gasps. They left women like this for hours. Still stubborn? Let's try sleep deprivation, the heretic's fork. Sleep is a basic need. To take it away is to break the mind. The heretic's fork was a short metal rod with sharp, two-pronged forks at both ends. One end under the chin, the other against the chest, held by a leather strap. If you kept your head up, you were safe. But you can't keep your head up forever. The moment exhaustion hit and your head nodded. Stab. The spikes pierced the chin and chest, jolting you awake. Wake up, hold head up, get tired, nod off, stab again. Repeat for days. This turned victims into zombies, ready to admit to being the devil's wife, just to close their eyes for 1 second. The boot. We cannot forget the classic appetizer for the legs, the boot. Boards of wood or iron strapped tightly around the calves. When the inquisitor wasn't happy with an answer, the executioner hammered a wedge between the boards and the flesh. Thud. The wedge drove in, crushing muscle against bone. Crack. The tibia shattered. They didn't stop. They hammered more wedges, grinding bone fragments into a paste of marrow and blood. The pain of shattered marrow traveling to the brain is blinding. Victims passed out from shock, only to be woken up for another wedge. The legs, symbols of freedom, became anchors of pain. The betrayal. But after all the iron and blood, the scariest truth isn't the machines, it's the people. The Inquisition relied on a massive surveillance network, the public. Fear turned society into a trap. Children reported parents, neighbors reported neighbors. Mass hysteria took over. Imagine living where your best friend might sell you out to steal your property. For the victims, the physical wounds might heal, but knowing their loved one sent them there left a scar on the soul that never faded. The Inquisition's darkest legacy was the total destruction of trust. The end of darkness. Darkness cannot hold back the dawn forever. History moved forward. Philosophers and brave clergy began to ask, can truth really be found through torture? The answer was no. The Enlightenment arrived like a fresh wind, bringing reason to sweep away superstition. People realized sickness came from germs, not spells. The Inquisition's power faded, dungeons emptied, and devices became museum pieces. But the cost was thousands of innocent lives buried in unmarked graves. Today, we look at a rusty torture chair in a museum and say, thank God I don't live then. But look closer. The iron is old, but the spirit of the Inquisition, fanaticism, fear, and judgment without evidence, has it really vanished? Or has it just shape-shifted into online witch hunts and mob mentality? History acts as a mirror. Those women are sending us a timeless message. Beware of unchecked power and speak up against injustice. Silence is complicity. If this journey into the shadows opened your eyes, hit that like button. Share this video to keep these forgotten stories alive. And don't forget to subscribe. I have more files on history's most shocking secrets that textbooks are too afraid to teach you. See you in the next chapter of the Dark Past.